Trump's threat to make Canada the 51st state is a real thing. At least that's what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said today in a private comment that was caught by a hot microphone, then publicly doubled down on by some of his cabinet. Labour Minister Steven MacKinnon joins me now. Minister, good to see you again. Thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you, David.
The Prime Minister's comments, I don't think were meant to be for public consumption and caught on tape, but they're out there now. What makes your government so sure that Donald Trump isn't joking, which is the way these comments have been characterized from the beginning and are now seen as a real threat to sovereignty now?
Well, look, I think we've seen President Trump express this view or opinion or whatever it is on numerous occasions, whether it be on social media or what have you. Obviously, somehow this has gotten into his head. I don't need to tell you or your viewers, David, that this is not something that is taken seriously in Canada. Canada is a country that is free, is sovereign, will choose its own destiny, and is eternal. And one of the things that come out of this summit today, but more importantly, come out of my conversations right across this country with workers and communities is the amount of pride, but also the amount of opportunity that this country has. And look, it's provided a bit of a jolt. Let's agree. It's provided a little bit of an electroshock to Canadians. But what it has done is unleashed, yes, patriotism and pride that I think we all feel, but opportunity. I sense nothing but opportunity for this country, opportunity for working Canadians, but opportunities for us to grow, to expand, to prosper. And that could be, we hope it is, in partnership with our U.S. friends, because we do have a lot of friends in the United States, but it could and will be with partners around the world. And Canada has what the world needs, and that's what we're kind of doing the balance sheet of right now, doing in the accounting on. And we have so much to offer, David. I feel nothing but pride and optimism. But
the challenge, Minister, is as Canada looks for opportunities to grow and expand, seemingly so does the President, right? And while you say this is not a serious thing here in Canada, it may be a serious thing in the White House and in the Oval Office and in the hallways of Mar-a-Lago. So we've already seen what he's done in just a couple of weeks. I mean, what's your sense of how much further President Trump is willing to go? We have a pause on tariffs, but it's only a pause. It's not like he's abandoning the idea, and he's not abandoning this 51st state notion.
And we're look, what I think you see and are seeing, the trade representative had his confirmation hearings yesterday. You can feel the increasing unease in the United States on both sides of their proverbial aisle, with the possibility that great economic harm would befall the citizens of the United States were tariffs to come into force. And that is even before Canada, as it would, retaliated. So there would be significant economic harm. One thinks only of the auto sector and their just-in-time deliveries, where cars can literally not get manufactured after mere days because parts run out. Parts from Mexico, parts from Canada, assemblies in Canada or the United States. It is an integrated and not easily replicable system. You think of things like potash. It's planting season very soon across the United States of America. Where do they get their fertilizer, David? They get it from Canada. I don't think any farmer in the United States relishes paying 25 cents more on the dollar for potash and for fertilizer. So all of these things are sinking in. It's a big, complex country, and they don't always think of Canada. But we're very much on their radar screen now for all kinds of good reasons, because I think what's sinking in is that Canadians help the United States prosper. Canada doesn't, we don't do them any favors in terms of we sell our products for what they're worth, but we have a heck of a partnership that keeps people prosperous on both sides of the border.
Everything you say there is true and rational and clear. And a trade war would have enormous consequences on both sides of the border. I'm not sure they care, is my concern in this, because letting Elon Musk and the people from his companies go in and take over vast chunks of the apparatus of government, including the payment system at Treasury, could also have severe consequences, yet here we are, right? So, I mean, how much does that weigh on you as a minister and the people at the summit today and you and your colleagues as a government?
Well, I, like so many others, look on with bewilderment at some of this and imagine some of these things happening in Ottawa or Gatineau, which is the constituency I represent, and what that would, some of these signals. Imagine if every public servant in the national capital got an email that says a fork in the road. These are things that we should not be flirting with in this country. Canada prides itself on its stability, indeed its rationality. So I don't try and figure out what's going on down there, but I know that people who care, farmers, auto workers, people who rely on Canadian products and goods and services in their daily lives and to build their businesses and to create opportunity, they're paying attention now. And I think that message has hit home. And I think Canadians can be very comforted that our U.S. friends also are becoming more acutely aware of just how important this trading relationship is. What happens behind the scenes in the U.S. administration is, frankly, the business of the U.S. administration. We have an interest in them being a good government, but we're managing our own affairs up here, and we're going to continue protecting the people of this country.
Okay, I'm managing those affairs, this summit today, to bring together all the different groups, you know, from different components of the economy on all sides of a boardroom or a bargaining table. Issues like speeding up approval of projects been talked about for years, not a lot of significant progress. Reducing internal trade barriers, been talked about for years, not a lot of significant progress, I mean, to be candid about it. So we now have your colleague Anita Anand saying provincial trade barriers could fall within 30 days. What needle got moved at this summit? I mean, what is the ambitious thing we're going to see between now and the end of this pause?
Well, that's kind of what I meant when I said we've gotten a bit of a jolt. And if there was complacency in this country, I think it's rapidly evaporating. And I think that's true of the Government of Canada. I think that's true in all of the provinces. It's certainly true across the business, organized labor sectors. And so it was quite amazing for me today in the summit to hear a broad consensus on those two issues, on regulatory simplification, getting projects approved. I, for one, feel very strongly that we need to work on our supply chains. We need to expand capacity at ports and railways, energy infrastructure, and on labor mobility. We need to make it easier for professionals and tradespeople to crisscross this country in search of the better paycheck or the better opportunity, if that is their wish to do so. We have to make that easier. We have to take the sandpaper, David, out of the system. Sometimes it's not a rule, it's just a little procedure or a form or an administrative delay. Those things are going to be hard to root out. But what I'm sensing is a real appetite to get at that work.
But sometimes that is the political considerations in the jurisdictions that has those regulations, or there are the necessary issues of environmental regulation and Indigenous rights. So I know those are bigger ones to tackle over the longer term, but on project approval, on regulatory harmonization, are we going to see meaningful, tangible progress on this by the end of February? Because you can't go into another uncertain tariff period without having done something on the issues you can't control as a country.
Well, look, I think this will be a process. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You know, we won't be able to do all of this in mere weeks.
Well, Ms. Anand said within 30 days on the interprovincial stuff, right? You know.
Well, you were referring specifically to the regulatory and the permitting issues. Those are issues that are, I think, that we have new momentum on internal trade barriers, including things like labor mobility. I think she's right. There is real momentum from all provinces and territories to get rid of these exemptions, to go through these rules with a fine-tooth comb. Mr. Legault this week, I saw him give a speech where he said, you know, we're going to have to do much more to tie ourselves more closely to the possibilities of the Canadian economy. That is music to my ears. That's music to the ears of the MP for Gatineau, David. And we are going to work, and you feel it on the grassroots level. Something has changed. It's positive. They say never let a crisis go to waste, and I think Canada has a lot to look forward to, and we can make real progress for people. We can create opportunity, and this country has nothing but positive things to look forward to.
Right, and look, and I appreciate you for clarifying the regulatory versus the interprovincial thing. I was conflating those timelines. But just as a final point, Labour leaders were at this year, the Minister of Labour. There's obviously going to be a need for some sort of large-scale financial support should the trade war happen and we end up in a protracted standoff with the United States. Do you need to get Parliament back soon to do that? Like, you cannot do it all without parliamentary approval, and right now we're in a prorogation because of your leadership race.
Just on that point, let me mention one critical fact. Another one of the strategic advantages that Canada has, we do not let our people down. The auto worker in Ohio or the farm worker in Iowa cannot rely on the system of supports that we have, mainly the employment insurance system that we've built together as Canadians. So you can be sure that we are prepared, should it occur, with a response package that would have that as a philosophy. We do not leave people behind in this country, and we will be there. We will make sure that we put a net under people. This would be an economic event unlike others. We had a pandemic that was obviously catastrophic. We had the global financial crisis. A response was there. So this one would be more tailor-made to what we think would be a slow-rolling,
right?
But yes, disastrous economic event for Canada.
But if you don't do it now, Minister, because of the prorogation, and we end up in an election,
yes,
we're talking months and months and months before something can happen.
We would be doing it within the authorities that I already have as Minister of Employment. We would be doing it as a government within what we currently enjoy as our ability to act. So we would act.
Okay, Labour Minister Steven MacKinnon, I've gone over time. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thanks so much, David.